Hi everyone, Stepan here. In today's daily chess test, I have two very interesting positions for you to solve. Please, with the first one, be very careful and very patient. I remember it took me a while to understand everything that was going on here. Okay, so I'm not going to talk anymore. Pause the video, you can see the rules on the board. On the screen, set up the position of a real board, time yourself, you have 15 minutes for this one. Don't move the pieces and write your analysis down. Okay, good luck guys, pause the video, see you in a minute. Okay, so this is one of the crucial games in the 77 candidates final, from which, well, Korchnoi ended up winning it and he advanced to play Karpov in the World Championship. That didn't go well, but he still did play him for the World Championship. Okay, and in this position, it's clear that white is better because white has a passed pawn on the 7th, and given some time, he's going to sort out all the issues in his position. Well, the main advantage when you compare the two positions is that it's white to move, firstly, and that these rooks are very awkwardly placed and that black's king is less safe. Now, one thing that should be noted is that these two pawns, especially the a5 pawn, even though they are not dangerous for the moment, or the a5 pawn is not dangerous for the moment, it could become dangerous later on in the game. So, even though white is better now, and even if he manages to sort out all of his issues, he may have trouble later on with his pawn. So let's now look at black's chances. Well, firstly, I should mention that white would like to play either queen b7 or queen b8 and simply queen his pawn, so that seems like a very serious threat. However, black has a counter threat in the form of queen a4, and queen a4 is a very awkward move to meet because, well, if you move your rook a queen and a queen with mate in most cases, so that's something white has to think about. Okay, knowing all of that, let's look at some candidate moves. The first candidate move we definitely have to look at is queen to b8 and queen to b7. Let's just see what happens if white goes for his main active plan. Well, if you play queen to b8, that's actually very bad because rook takes c7, and now white should be probably equal, but maybe black could even get an edge there because queen c8 takes, and I mean, I think black is just better. Probably these rooks don't stand too big of a chance. However, after queen to b8, there's an even better move. Black can simply continue queen a4, and after queen c8, king to h7. If white now tries to sort out his back rank and not get mated with, for example, h3, then queen takes c6, and obviously black is winning this position because this pawn is going nowhere, this one is still defended. So queen b8 doesn't work. Queen b7, which seems far more tempting, well, simply threatening to take the rook without allowing some of these tricks, again fails to queen a4, and again, if you take the rook for free, king h7, and you try to sort out your issues, again queen to c6. If after king h7 you try something crazy like king h6, that rook h6, then pawn h6, and just lost the rook, you don't even have any checks. So the moves you would like to make don't really work straight away. So that tells us that we either have to play prophylactically or that we need to rearrange our pieces somehow. And this is the part where I struggled. So I saw that queen b7 and queen b8 don't work, but I couldn't see how to sort out my issues effectively. Let's look at some candidates. Okay, king f1 can be discarded straight away, with the idea if queen a4 you play king e2. However, after queen a4, if you play king e2, then queen g4 is a mate in 2. So the rook is attacked, you have to play f3, and this is checkmate. So king f1 doesn't work. Let's look at some other options. If we try the move queen to b5, which seems very tempting, and I remember thinking that this is the way to go for a long while until I saw that you don't actually have queen b8 check in the end. So the idea is you undefended your pawn, but it cannot be taken, and you're simply preventing queen a4 and stuff like that. However, black can take the pawn, and after takes, if queen b8, then simply king to h7, and if you take the rook, you still lose. Queen takes c7, queen a4, have no way to prevent mate and to prevent the promotion of the pawn. If you take, it's mate. If you play rook f1, then you just queen, and this is just an overwhelming position. So queen b5 doesn't work. The two moves that I was also tempted with are rook c5 and rook c3, both aimed at rearranging my pieces in a favorable way, which would give me queen e6 check ideas and stuff like that. But they both simply fail for the same reason. Again, queen to a4. And now the best move you have is simply queen to b1 and trying to save your back rank. Now after rook c7 takes, you take on d2 and the position should be equal. As I said, this pawn is going to be very dangerous, so black probably has better practical chances. So if none of that works, then you definitely have to sort out your king issues effectively. So you have basically three options: f3, which is a horrendous move and weakens everything, g3 and h3. g3 can also be discarded immediately. Queen a4, if you take on d2, which seems ugly, but okay, and you play queen to b7, then queen d1 check, king to g2, and rook takes f2, and this is checkmate. You're going to have to give up your rook and your queen in order to prevent mate. So that brings us to the last move, which does work, which does sort out all the issues, and which Viktor Korchnoi actually did play during the game, and that's pawn to h3. This gives the king an escape square, disables white from checking along the light squares, anywhere from checking along the f-file, black, excuse me, and black can simply resign here. The engines say +2 or something, so not immediately resignable, but it's actually very hard to play. Now let's look at what he can do. Spassky played queen a4 in the game, which lost almost straight away. I'm going to show you that. If you try something like queen to f7, then simply queen a5, and you just got rid of this dangerous pawn. If these are traded off, takes, you just take on d2, and may not be easily winning, but in major piece endgames with the queens on, king safety is the most important factor. So here white definitely has a very considerable advantage and should be able to win this. Other than queen f7, maybe king h7 could be a candidate, but now you simply continue queen to b7, threatening the rook, and black has to go back. And again, you can now just probably play rook c2 and take this guy, and then win one of these two, and again get a better endgame. So in the game, Spassky played the most obvious move, queen a4, which probably does give you best practical chances. And here's the point. Now that you have an escape square on h2, you can actually take on d2. Now you got rid of black's main threat while keeping yours on the board. So rook takes d2, obviously, queen to b7, and now if you move the rook, I queen with check, or if you move it this way, I don't queen with check, but I still have an extra queen. I don't know what else to suggest. You can give up your queen on c3, but I'm still going to queen my pawn. The best move, which actually was played in the game, was rook to d8 and c takes d8 check. Rook takes d8 and rook to c7, and everything is falling apart. You can see that this pressure is tremendous. King safety is again the most important factor. After rook d2, it should be noted that queen b8 doesn't work as well as queen b7, because now once rook takes b8 and c takes b8, queen is played, king h7, you don't have this going on, and you don't have immediate pressure on the g7 pawn. Okay, I thought this position was very interesting for prophylactic play and attacking play at the same time, and recognizing what needs to be done in such a critical moment in the game. Okay, next position. In this position, it's black to play, so it's black's move, but you are playing the white pieces, and it's basically you're trying to win with white, but black gets to move first. If white plays first, then it's easy, you just promote your pawn. Okay, so factor in everything that black can do. There's only one obvious move. Okay, Good luck to you guys. This one you have to solve, and I think you shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. This shouldn't be too hard. Once you see the idea, it's just the variations are pretty simple to calculate. Okay, pause the video. See you in a minute. Good luck. Okay, so if black does nothing, then you can push your pawn. So black basically has to play king d3, and this now prevents f4 because, well, the king marches up along with the pawn, and black gets the pawn. Obviously, if this pawn falls, it's a draw. The knight is irrelevant. And there is only one way to win this position, but there are two moves to start. You can either play knight f5 or you can play knight g6. Doesn't really matter. The point is you want to get your knight to h4. And here's the whole idea. Once you get your knight to h4, your f3 pawn cannot be taken. The black king, is going to have to take the knight first. And what you want to do is make sure that once the king gets to g3 or to g5, you want to be close enough with your king to get a winning king and pawn endgame. So once you see this idea, the variations are very easy. For example, knight f5, knight g6, same thing. King e2, I don't know, he could... Well, yeah, king e2 is the most obvious move. Okay, knight h4, king e3. He cannot go to f2 because you push. Now the pawn push is prevented, and now you just keep moving forward. King b5. You can also play king b4. King f4, king c5. Again, you can also play king d4. King c4. King to g3, threatening to take your knight. King to d5. King takes h4. King e5, and black resigns. And this, of course, is a winning king and pawn endgame. Okay, I know this one was easy, but in real games and in training games, I've messed up opportunities like this very often. And in one of my tournament games in Rabat, which I played 2 months ago, my last tournament, I actually got a very similar knight endgame, not a very similar knight endgame, but a knight endgame in which I almost messed up. I played in Zeitnot and it could have ended badly. Okay, I hope you liked the two positions today. The first one was much harder than the second one, but I think that's okay. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. And again, thank you. Stay tuned for more chess. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.